Well, g'day guys, and welcome back to the next part of this little AWA radio. Now, as I said in the last video, this time we'll do the capacitors and check some of the resistors, what there is left. So we've replaced those two in there, and this fella here. We've done these two. We've done one around the back. So all we're really left with the resistors is the 100K. Now, this 100K is connected to the 1R5, our first RF amp and oscillator. So we go pin 1, 2, 3, pin 4. Now, if we have a look at the diagram, I'm just guiding you through this anyway. 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's that fella there, R1. Okay, so we'll check him and see what he reads. And I'm doing them one by one so that you can follow along. Maybe this will help you if you've got into trouble resurrecting one of these. Now, put him there, and if we can get a reading in circuit, we'll go there. I've just got to be able to. I can't get the meter on him there. 128. A little bit high. For the sake of 100K resistors, which are a dime a dozen, I'm going to replace him anyway. I want this spot on. So let's replace this 100K, and then we'll come back and check this fella out and where he is on the circuit. Now, as usual with my repairs, I've taken out the 100K from up here. Now, there's a little 100 puff capacitor that goes down to the oscillator coil, which is this fella here. That's how the resistor we've just taken out. It comes down here to the oscillator. Now, I'm just going to lift him and dress him up a little bit. He's got a horrible looking little sleeve on him, and we'll check to make sure he's 100 puff. May as well do it while we're here, because if once that resistor goes in, he's just a little bit harder to get to. So I'll just lift him out and just check him out. Righto. Well, there he is, and you can't read anything with this old bit of, I don't know whether it's heat shrink or it probably was at one stage, but it's all hard. So I'm going to cut it off, check him, and put a little bit of clear stuff on like we did with this fella down here. Just looks a bit nicer when it's all back in. Now I've just split him open, and by the look of the green corrosion that's been happening in here, I think it's probably about time he was certainly got out of this. But anyway, I'll clean him up. We'll check. We can probably solder that lead back on. I'll have a look, and yeah, after we test him. Right, guys. Well, I'll pull the little cap out from that area there. I don't know whether we had the mic on, but anyway, I'll do a voiceover on this previously. There he is. Now that looks a bit nicer. Resoldered a wire to this end, and we'll put him back in. So just makes the job look a bit nicer. Now he reads 97 picofarad, close enough to 100 for me. Okay, let's get him in. Right, guys, we've replaced the 100K, replaced got the 100 picofarad back in there. Now, I've replaced that yellow wire and this little red wire because it was all solder burnt and, well, soldering iron burnt. And, yeah, it wasn't real good. Next resistor to check is the 15K. And that is R3 on the circuit. Now, where are we on the circuit here? Okay, it's actually got 16k there, but it's a 15k. R3 is the screen grid of your 1T4, and yeah, that's where he is in the circuit. So gives you an idea in case you go to do it. But it's take notes that that is a 15k, not a 16k as it is on the circuit. I have two circuits. One's actually written 16k, and another two circuits have actually got 15k in there. And this resistor here is a 15k. So I'll replace him. We'll just check our 15k to see what he reads. Not bad. 15.1. Oh, geez. I think I'll leave that fellow in there. That's pretty spot on, actually, for one of those old resistors. Okay, we'll leave him in and get him hooked back together. And then we're starting on just checking the continuity of the coils before I do the capacitors. This is just a bit more room. Okay, first I'll check the oscillator coil here. 10 point. What have we got there? Yeah, 9 ohms. It's pretty good. The secondary, 3. That is good. IF Trini. One here. Come on, Baz. 38. I've got continuity. That's the main thing. 38. And this fella, we've got 36.8. And on this side, we've got 35, which would be right. So all have continuity and all appear to be okay. You know, I've just run this wire just in under here to keep him neat. So looking, if you want a little bit closer look at what I've done, of what wire goes where, there it is. In case you are going to rebuild one of these and you are not sure where everything goes when, like, well, I was when I got it apart. There she is. Okay, now at last, let's get some capacitors in it, and we're a step closer, to hearing a little bit of noise. Righto, guys, we'll start with an 025 on this fella. You can see that there. And he goes from the 15k, the oscillator coil comes to the screen grid of the valve. So we go from here to ground. Now, the original cap, I'll just give you a circuit. That fella there, the 025 to ground. Okay, that was the 15k we've just changed. And goes over to our oscillator coil, which is this red wire here. So this fella goes to ground. As I said, the original went across here and to ground at this point here. So we'll run the same line. I'll be putting an 022 in. Righto, well, we've just checked this cap. This is the one I'm putting in. And I've just put him on the oscilloscope. Very easy test to test the foil end, which is this wire is connected to the foil, so it's fully more or less insulated. If this goes to ground, insulated right to the end, and then this goes to your high impedance of the valve. So I've put a black dot on the foil end. I always check the capacitors before I put them in. I don't know whether it makes a hell of a lot of difference, but yeah, we'll put him in fairly short at this end because it's high impedance, and yeah, your ground just to the other side. That way it's, yeah, in effect, shielded right to the end of the cap. Okay, just something not everyone does, but yeah, I always do that. Now we'll get the ground over here. There are other grounds around here which we could have gone for over here, but yeah, I wanted to go back to the same spot as where it was. Right, so the one we're looking at the moment that I just showed you is the 0025 C17 here. Our 3S4 is actually over here, and there's pin 1, pin 2, pin 3. So we've more or less got to go from in there across to here. So we'll get that organised. Okay, so we've marked this fella. That's the foil end, and the foil goes to a high impedance end of, there's some motorbikes getting around here at the moment. So the high impedance end goes to pin 3, our grid. So that's where we put the foil end, and that's our cap we're changing. Okay, so foil goes to pin 3 up here. So we'll probably put our cap closer to this end. We'll just bring this resistor out a little bit. We'll slip him in there, and we'll put some heat shrink on this side when we go into the B plus down there. Okay, so looks like we're going to go roughly in there like so. Okay, we've got the capacitor in. Goes to pin 5 of the 1S5 over to pin 3 of the 3S4. Now, some people might say I'm marking the ground of the caps, or well, not the ground, the outside foil of the caps at the wrong end. I should be marking at this end because that's the actual foil end. It runs along here, and the foil goes to the end of the cap, and then the inside of the cap goes over to here. Now, I put the black dot because I know it's a bad practice probably, I put the black dot at the end going, that goes to the high impedance, not the low impedance. So the black dot means that is the end of the foil. It goes to there where the black dot is. This is from the center of the capacitor, which is the other connection to the capacitor, and that's the end where we go high impedance. Now, just looking at the circuit, you'll see that the plate here, the plate has got voltage going from it to here to the actual plate. That's not the cathode. These valves are upside down, and the plate would be a low impedance compared to over here for the grid for the 3S4 being higher impedance. So you want this this lower impedance shielded wire to go as far this way as possible, so no stray rubbish gets in around this area. Now, a lot of people just don't bother about doing this. As I said, I do. Bad practice, don't know. It's just something I do, and something like, if you want to check up more on the foil ends and how you can make up a capacitor foil tester to see which is the outside, I use an oscilloscope and just touch it with my finger, and that gives me the outside foil. But if you go to Mr. Carlson's lab, you will see that he has made one of these testers that is a very nice piece of gear, and it instantly tells you which side is the foil side by just connecting the cap. And yeah, handy idea. I get along with just an oscilloscope and touching it with my finger is enough induction to see which is the highest amplitude when you're touching it as to which end you've got the crow connected to. So yeah, it's anyway, we'll move along. This fella next. So where are we here? We're on the 1S5, and if we look, we've got pin 2. So pin 2. Oh, I can't read him there. Probably better off reading him in the camera, actually. An 025. So now if we go to the 1S5 here, we're looking pin 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's our cap there. Is an 025. There goes our bikies again. There we go. It's an 025 C15, and he just goes to ground. So we've got to put this fella down along in here to a ground point. Gee, the boys are active here on their bikes today. You probably heard that. Okay, so we'll do this fella to a ground point, probably here or over here. Plenty of points, but we'll probably go in around there. There's been a solder point there before, so we'll use the same point, an 025. Got that fella in, ground, over to here. Okay, now the next one is actually, I've pulled him out earlier. Let's put in C14. It goes from the wiper of the pot to our 10 meg resistor, which goes up to the grid. So this will be our shield end, or our foil end of the cap, which goes right through, and this is our high impedance feed to the grid of the valve. So yeah, that's how we'll do it. So he goes foil end to the wiper, which takes it up to this point here. So let's get him in. 0025, which will be a 0022, and he goes to our 10 meg resistor. So he it looks like he goes in. I'm pretty sure he goes in here, which is pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pin 6. Is that correct? If we look here, that's pin 7. This is pin 6. So he goes to pin 6 of the 1S5. Okay, so we'll take him to that point, not to the resistor, although the resistor or already goes to that point anyway. So we're going from there, pin 6, across to the wiper of the volume control, and the wiper will be this fella here. Okay. Let's got that fella in. Yeah. Looks good. Let's see what's next. Okay, the cap we're putting in now, this little fella, is an 01, and he goes from pin 2 of our 3S4. Now we'll get our circuit. Okay, pin 2, and it's this fella here. There's an 01, and he's on the primary of the output transformer to the plate of the valve. Okay, so C18.01. This will be also where the primary of the audio transformer connects to. we've got the foil end. The foil goes right to this end, and that's our high impedance. There we are. Okay. Lift him up just a little bit away from things. He's not touching anything. He's well away from this little fella here, and no wires close handy there. Okay, according to my calculations, we've got one cap to go. Okay, now our last cap to go in is this fellow, which is C9. He's a 0.05. He joins our 6.3 meg resistor, which also goes back to the loop antenna. Now, that's this point here, which will be also going back to the loop, and we've got to go from him down to a ground point, obviously the same point, back to here. So we'll put him in, and that's our last cap. Then we can, get on with the exciting bit. Once again, also marked the high impedance end. Okay, so he goes that way around. The foil comes right along to this end here. Okay, let's put him in.